Hello friends, and welcome to the Forgotten Past. On this channel, you'll explore untold stories, lost events, ancient discoveries, and hidden secrets from across history. Let's view the video. The Anglo-Saxon Huscarls were among the most feared and disciplined warriors in England's history. Their loyalty, skill, and legendary two-handed axes made them the backbone of Anglo-Saxon military power. But their origins trace back beyond England, to the icy shores of Scandinavia and the brutal world of the Vikings. The roots of the Huscarls lie in the traditions of Norse warrior culture. Long before they served English kings, similar elite guards existed within the courts of Viking chieftains. These warriors pledged absolute loyalty in exchange for wealth, honor, and the protection of their families, setting the foundations for what would become the Huscarls. The Viking Age reshaped warfare across Europe. With their longships, raiders, and mercenaries, the Norse brought not only fear but advanced martial traditions. Their emphasis on disciplined household warriors greatly influenced neighboring regions, including the emerging kingdoms of England. From these cultural exchanges, the concept of professional royal guards evolved. It was under King Knut the Great that the true Anglo-Saxon Huscarl Corps was born. A Danish conqueror, Knut recognized the need for a reliable, battle-hardened personal guard. He imported the Norse tradition and molded it to fit the English royal court, establishing a permanent force of elite warriors sworn to the king. Recruitment into the Huscarls was no ordinary affair. Only the strongest, bravest, and most loyal men could join. Many were veterans of countless battles, others were sons of noble families seeking honor. Their selection was based on merit and martial prowess, ensuring the king's household guard remained formidable and respected. Huscarls held a unique status in Anglo-Saxon society. Though technically royal retainers, they enjoyed privileges above common soldiers. They were paid well, granted lands, and often wielded influence at court. Yet their lives were bound by unwavering duty, expected to fight, protect, and die for their king without hesitation. Over time, the reputation of the Anglo-Saxon Huscarls grew across Europe. Tales of their skill with the massive Danish axes and their fearless devotion to duty spread far and wide. Whether on the battlefield or in the royal hall, they stood as symbols of strength, loyalty, and the enduring warrior spirit of England. The life of an Anglo-Saxon Huscarl was defined by relentless discipline, loyalty, and the ever-present shadow of war. Though respected as elite warriors, their existence was far from luxurious. Every day demanded rigorous training, unwavering obedience, and readiness to defend their king, their lords, and the very heart of England. Training was the foundation of a Huscarl's life. From dawn to dusk, they practiced tirelessly. Sword drills, shield formations, and axe combat were routine. Precision and strength were vital. Only through constant repetition could they master the brutal techniques required to hold the shield wall and wield their legendary two-handed axes effectively. The weapons of a Huscarl were their pride. Chief among these was the fearsome Danish axe, capable of splitting shields and even helmets. Alongside this, they carried swords, seaxes, and round shields. Their gear was not just for battle, it was a symbol of their status and their oath-bound duty. Armor marked their elite status. Huscarls wore mail hauberks, iron helmets, and carried sturdy shields emblazoned with distinctive patterns. Some had access to finer equipment, gifted by their lords. Their intimidating appearance struck fear into enemies, while their uniform presence at court reminded all of their vital role as the king's protectors. Loyalty was the cornerstone of a Huscarl's existence. They swore absolute allegiance to their lord or king, bound by sacred oaths. Betrayal was unthinkable. In return, they received wealth, honor, and sometimes land. But above all, they gained the respect reserved only for the most steadfast and courageous warriors. Despite their martial duties, Huscarls were integrated into society. Many managed estates or oversaw law enforcement in their lord's absence. Their presence at local gatherings or courts commanded attention. Yet, even amidst civilian life, they remained ever ready for battle, their weapons never far from reach, their oaths never forgotten. The brotherhood among Huscarls was legendary. Bound by blood, battle, and loyalty, they lived and fought as a unit. On the battlefield or in the feast hall, this camaraderie forged an unbreakable bond. Their shared hardships and triumphs shaped them not just as warriors, but as a proud and enduring warrior brotherhood. The true measure of an Anglo-Saxon Huscarl was revealed on the battlefield. Feared across Europe, these warriors were the steel core of England's military might. Their discipline, skill, and relentless courage made them indispensable during times of war, whether defending the homeland or standing beside their king in foreign campaigns. Huscarls were famed for their mastery of battle formations. Chief among these was the shield wall, a tightly packed line of interlocked shields braced against enemy assaults. Within these ranks, Huscarls served as anchors, holding the line firm, their strength and discipline determining the success or failure of the army. No weapon symbolized the Huscarls more than the two-handed Danish axe. Towering as tall as a man, its curved blade could cleave through shields, helmets, and even horsemen. Wielded with terrifying precision, it transformed Huscarls into living engines of destruction, feared by enemies from the English countryside to distant shores. Huscarls stood at the heart of the famed Anglo-Saxon shield walls. Their heavy armor and disciplined ranks provided the army's backbone. They absorbed the first shock of cavalry charges and arrow volleys, holding firm under immense pressure. Their presence within the line often determined the morale and survival of the entire force. Countless battles showcased the valor of the Huscarls. From defending against Viking invasions to crushing Welsh and Scottish rebellions, their axe blows echoed through history. Their reputation grew as England's most trusted warriors, often forming the king's personal guard and defending him in the thickest, bloodiest clashes. Huscarls also proved their worth at sea. On Viking-style longships, they formed the elite shock troops, leaping ashore during coastal raids or naval battles. Their skill with axes and swords made them as deadly on the decks of ships as they were on England's fields and fortifications. The mere presence of Huscarls could unnerve enemies. Their towering frames, gleaming axes, and iron discipline struck fear before battle began. Enemies whispered of their brutal efficiency and unwavering loyalty. For the Anglo-Saxons, they embodied martial pride; for their foes, they were the grim, unstoppable executioners of England's wrath. The reign of Edward the Confessor marked a period of relative peace and growing stability in England. Yet, beneath this calm surface, the Huscarls remained vigilant. They became more than warriors; they were trusted servants of the crown, guarding not only the king's life but the fragile peace of the realm. Edward the Confessor recognized the Huscarls as the kingdom's elite guardians. He relied heavily on their loyalty and martial skill, maintaining them as a standing force at court. Their presence served as both protection and a symbol of royal authority, reminding all nobles where true power ultimately resided. At royal courts and councils, Huscarls stood silently behind their king. Clad in shining mail and gripping massive axes, they were living warnings against treachery. Their intimidating presence kept ambitious nobles in line, ensuring that Edward's reign, though politically delicate, remained free from outright rebellion or assassination attempts. Edward's court became known for its inclusion of foreign-born Huscarls. Many came from Denmark, Norway, or other Norse regions, drawn by wealth and status. Their integration strengthened England's ties with Scandinavia, blending Anglo-Saxon traditions with Norse warrior culture, further enhancing the reputation and diversity of the king's household guard. The Huscarls' duties extended beyond the battlefield. They enforced the king's law across the land, ensuring order in towns and countryside alike. Their role in upholding justice, collecting taxes, and quelling unrest made them feared figures among the common folk, and respected symbols of the king's ever-watchful authority. Edward rewarded his Huscarls generously. In return for their loyalty, they received land, silver, and privileges. Some rose to become lords themselves, while others remained content in the brotherhood of the household guard. Their loyalty to Edward ensured England's stability, but it also sowed the seeds for future conflict. As Edward's reign drew to a close, tension simmered. Rival claims to the throne, foreign interests, and ambitious earls all threatened the fragile peace. Through it all, the Huscarls remained loyal, prepared to defend the crown against any threat. But no one knew how severely their oaths would soon be tested. In 1066, the fate of Anglo-Saxon England hung by a thread. After King Edward's death, Harold Godwin's son ascended the throne. But across the sea, William of Normandy prepared to invade. As the storm clouds of war gathered, Harold's Huscarls readied themselves for the greatest, and final, test of their loyalty. The Huscarls formed the backbone of Harold's army. Battle-hardened and fiercely loyal, they followed him from Stamford Bridge to Hastings. Their presence inspired the Fyrd, the militia of common men. Together, they marched south to meet the Norman threat, their axes gleaming with the promise of resistance. On October 14, 1066, the two armies clashed at Senlac Hill near Hastings. The Huscarls occupied the front lines of the Anglo-Saxon shield wall, their shields locked tight, axes at the ready. Their discipline and unyielding formation would decide the fate of the kingdom on that fateful day. The Normans launched relentless cavalry charges and volleys of arrows. Again and again, the Huscarls held firm. Their massive axes cut down knights and horses alike. They withstood the terrifying assaults, turning Senlac Hill into a slaughter ground, their courage echoing across the battlefield with every clash and cry. Hours passed. The shield wall, battered but intact, stood strong thanks to the Huscarls. But cunning Norman tactics began to turn the tide. Feigned retreats lured segments of the English line into disorder. Slowly, gaps formed. The once impenetrable shield wall weakened under pressure and exhaustion. In the final moments, King Harold was struck down, likely by an arrow and sword blows. The surviving Huscarls fought with desperate valor around their fallen king. Refusing to flee, they stood their ground as the Norman tide overwhelmed them. They died as they had lived, with axes swinging and unbreakable resolve. Though the battle was lost, the Huscarls' valor at Hastings became legend. Their defense of Senlac Hill was a testament to their discipline, loyalty, and warrior spirit. Though England fell to the Normans, the Huscarls' final stand etched their name in history as the last shield of Anglo-Saxon England. The Battle of Hastings was not just a military defeat, it marked the end of an era. With King Harold's death and the shield wall broken, the Anglo-Saxon Huscarls faced extinction. Yet, their legacy, forged through centuries of loyalty and valor, refused to fade quietly into the shadows of history. In the immediate aftermath of Hastings, the Huscarls were leaderless. Some fell in battle, others fled, but their structure as a royal household guard crumbled. The victorious Normans replaced them with their own knights and men-at-arms, signaling the complete dismantling of the Anglo-Saxon military elite. A few surviving Huscarls refused to live under Norman rule. Many took exile, seeking service in foreign courts. Most famously, some found their way to Byzantium, where they joined the legendary Varangian Guard, becoming trusted warriors of the Byzantine Emperor, proving their skills and loyalty were still in high demand. Within England, the memory of the Huscarls endured. Their martial traditions influenced the development of Norman household troops and, later, the chivalric knightly orders. Though their axes were replaced with swords and lances, the Huscarls' spirit of disciplined loyalty remained embedded in the evolving feudal system. Legends and folklore preserved their story. Tales of brave Huscarls making a last stand at Hastings or fighting on distant shores echoed through generations. Chroniclers praised their unmatched valor, while poems and songs celebrated their final, doomed defense of England's ancient way of life. Historical records, including the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle and Norse sagas, immortalized the Huscarls. Though their ranks were scattered, their reputation as fiercely loyal, disciplined warriors never faded. Even in defeat, they were remembered as the iron wall that had once protected England's kings and stood against overwhelming odds. Today, the legacy of the Anglo-Saxon Huscarls remains alive in British military history. Their discipline, courage, and loyalty inspire reenactments, literature, and scholarly studies. Though the kingdom they served is long gone, their story survives, etched into the foundations of England's warrior tradition, reminding us of their unbreakable brotherhood and sacrifice. Thanks for watching The Forgotten Past. If you enjoyed the journey, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a hidden story or untold truth. New discoveries await. See you in the next video.